Hey guys, what's up? Overly complicated RPGs. Do you like them? Do you like them? Well, I do. I do so too. But at the same time, not really. What the hell is an overly complicated game? Well, for starters, I think an overly complicated game, or the term itself, overly complicated or complex, or just very freaking unique, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's entirely subjective. Because I know for a fact that in the past, I have recommended games that are really hard to get into, really complicated, but for me, they weren't, hence why I recommended them. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't like overly complicated games. I've never liked them one bit. It's not that I like really simple games, because I do. It's not that I give preference to them. I like when games get a little bit complicated, when my RPGs have that something, these little details in their gameplay mechanics that make them so more compelling, more enthralling, more interesting. But when things get like really complicated, unnecessarily complicated, overly complicated, I just don't like them. But the thing is, like I said before, I have recommended before games that can be considered as overly complicated. I can't think of a much better example than Yggdra Union. This is a game that I really like, and believe it or not, I have never finished this game because it's infamous. Because once you reach a certain point of the game, if you fucked it up, you're fucked. I mean, you can't go back, you're screwed, it's a dead end. You can't beat that certain mission, it's game over, man. Yeah, it's infamously hard, but also infamously known because of that. But that's a story for another day. The thing is that I've recommended Yggdra Union, both the Game Boy Advance and the PSP versions, many times before. I really like this game, but I realized many years later after having played it that it was indeed one of those games that are really excruciatingly complicated. But back then, it wasn't that complicated to me. I felt this game was, yes, complicated, very unique, with a highly original battle system. And the more I played, the more I thought I understood from the game. In the end, when I reached that dead end, I realized that I hadn't really understood the game. I didn't know anything. I didn't know the basics of the game. Because the basics were so overly complicated, convoluted, and there was just so many goddamn gameplay mechanics needed to be understood. Not exactly mastered, but somewhat mastered, conquered, for you to beat this game. God damn it! Do I still love this game? I do! I do! But what about Growlancer games? You know, the Growlancer series, I'm pretty sure Heritage of War is one of the less complicated ones with the others. You could see them as overly complicated RPGs. And I love this series 10 million times more than Yggdra Union. So, what's the deal here? Do I like overly complicated RPGs or not? Well, I insist. My answer is no, I don't like them. I don't like when when RPGs are like very complex, very hard to understand, hard to get into. I don't. But the fact that I got into these games and that I love them and that I like them is because I think that the term complicated or overly complicated is entirely subjective. It's just a matter of perspective. It's just a matter of opinion, like everything. And what can be easy for you to understand can be really hard for another person to understand, and vice versa. So these games, like Growlancer, like Yggdra Union, were not exactly easy to understand, but they weren't that hard to understand for me. But I understand that these games can be really hard to understand, or rather hard to get into for some people. In other words, overly complicated. Another perfect example is Resonance of Fate. That's a game that I found overly and unnecessarily complicated. I couldn't get into it. I hate the damn game nowadays, and I'm pretty sure that if I play that game again and give it a second chance, I don't think I'm gonna change my mind. It's an overly complicated game. With that game, even though it is worldwide recognized as a very complicated game, there are some people who got into that game and loved it. And if you ask these people, some of them will tell you, yes, it's very complicated, but I got into it and I loved it. And other people will say, I love the game, but you know, I just don't think it was complicated at all. It was kind of easy to understand. So you see, it's all a matter of perspective. And in the end, the question is, do you like overly complicated RPGs? When perhaps this question should have been, What makes a game or an RPG overly complicated? Whatever the answer, whatever the question, that's up for you to answer in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!